All right, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking the incredible resilience and, quite frankly, the sheer mind-boggling numbers behind a player a lot of people consider the absolute greatest footballer ever. We're going to dive deep into the data, the timeline, and the critical turning points that truly define Lionel Messi.
Have you ever been told something just wasn't for you? Like you were too small, too quiet, or maybe too late to do the one thing your heart wanted most? Well, our story today starts not with some shiny trophy, but with an 11-year-old boy in Rosario, Argentina, facing a totally devastating medical verdict that threatened to just completely shut the door on his future.
Section 1. A dream denied and the boy who stopped growing.
So, to give you some context, Lionel Messi was this tiny prodigy. They literally called him La Pulga, or the Flea. He played for a youth team that was so incredibly dominant they were dubbed the Machine of 87, winning 100 matches in a row. But right around age 11, his body suddenly betrayed him. He takes a bus to a clinic and gets diagnosed with a rare growth hormone deficiency. And here's the kicker. The treatment was available, but it cost up to a staggering $900 a month. That price tag was just way too high for his local clubs, Newell's Old Boys and River Plate. They looked at the bill, and they simply walked away.
It's honestly jarring, isn't it? Just try to picture an 11-year-old kid sitting on the edge of his bed, all alone, pushing a needle into his own thigh. Because that's exactly what he had to do, every single night, for years. The small boy injected himself in total silence. He learned super early on that this incredible internal gift he had was going to require immense, daily, painful sacrifice.
Moving right along to Section 2, the napkin contract, an ocean away.
Okay, so the moment everything flipped actually started with a desperate phone call back in the year 2000, which ended up leading to a trial with FC Barcelona over in Spain. The sporting director at the time, a guy named Carlos Reixach, watched this tiny, sick kid move with the ball for literally just a few minutes. He turned to his assistant and just said 2 words, "Sign him." But as you might expect, the Barcelona board hesitated. They thought he was way too small and honestly just too much of a risk. So weeks drag on in a hotel, and Messi's father, Jorge, is getting frustrated. He actually threatens to just pack up and take his son back home to Argentina. Then, on December 14th, 2000, something completely bizarre happens. During a lunch at a tennis club, Reixach gets desperate. He asks a waiter for literally anything he could write on, grabs a blue pen, and scribbles down a few short lines. In this wild twist of fate, the contract that launched a multi-million-dollar legacy and, more importantly, saved a 13-year-old's dream by agreeing to cover those medical bills was hastily written out on a paper napkin. You know, the kind you'd use to wipe your mouth. Which brings us to Section 3, the goal machine, defying the verdict. Let's fast forward to his prime years to see how all this builds. With his treatment finally paid for, he evolved into an absolute machine on the pitch. Under coach Pep Guardiola, Barcelona played this beautiful, incredibly intricate style of football called tiki-taka, and it was built, brick by brick, entirely around Messi's left foot. In 2009, they did the unthinkable, winning all 6 available trophies in a single year. Completely defying that childhood medical verdict, he then went on to win 4 consecutive Ballon d'Or awards. That's the prize for the absolute best player on the planet, and a record nobody had ever held before. Now, I really want you to let this impossible number sink in for a second. 91. In the calendar year of 2012, Lionel Messi scored 91 goals. To put that into perspective, he absolutely demolished a 40-year-old record held by the legendary German striker Gerd Müller, who had 85. 91 times in 12 months, this one guy stepped onto a green field and put the ball into the back of the net. It's just wild. Even his own teammates were often left entirely speechless. Andres Iniesta famously said exactly that. Messi routinely made seasoned world champions look like absolute beginners. Take that legendary 2015 Champions League semifinal against Bayern Munich. He tangled the legs of elite defender Jerome Boateng so badly that the guy literally fell onto the grass, and then Messi just effortlessly chipped the ball right over World Cup winning goalkeeper Manuel Neuer. But the craziest part? Instead of roaring or ripping off his shirt, he'd often celebrate these breathtaking, logic-defying goals by just calmly walking back to the center circle, like it was the most normal thing in the world. All right, Section 4, the breaking point and the human limit. But look, every machine has a breaking point, right? And for Messi, we eventually hit a very human limit. Even though he was dominating club football, the crushing weight of his home country's expectations finally cracked his armor. He went through this brutal timeline of heartbreak, losing 3 consecutive major finals with Argentina. It all came to a head on June 26, 2016, in the Copa America final against Chile. The match goes to penalties. Messi, a guy who almost never misses, steps up and watches his ball sail high over the crossbar into the dark New Jersey sky. The greatest goal scorer on earth wept right there on the grass that night. And shockingly, he told journalists he was retiring from the national team at just 29 years old, totally convinced he had found the absolute limit of his own gift.
So the whole of Argentina pretty much panicked and begged him to return, which, spoiler alert, he eventually did. But deep club heartbreak was right around the corner. Fast forward to August 8th, 2021, FC Barcelona had completely collapsed financially. Messi actually offered to take a massive 50% pay cut just to stay, but the Spanish league flat out refused to approve the contract. So a tearful 34-year-old Messi, needing a tissue from his wife before he could even choke out a word at the press conference, was forced out of his beloved club after 21 years. The boy who arrived with a needle in his thigh was leaving in tears.
Which takes us to Section 5, the ultimate redemption, Qatar 2022. After a quick stint playing for Paris Saint-Germain and finally snagging that elusive 2021 Copa America with Argentina, his ultimate test arrived at the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. And man, his path to glory was anything but easy. It started off as a total disaster with a shocking opening loss to Saudi Arabia. But they rallied. They battled all the way to the final against the defending champions, France. At 35 years old, in what a lot of people consider the greatest final ever played, Messi survived this dramatic 3-3 draw, where France's young phenomenon Kylian Mbappe scored 3 times. It all comes down to a terrifying penalty shootout. Messi steps up first, scores, and Argentina wins the shootout 4-2. 36 years after Maradona did it, the kid from the clinic finally lifted the golden trophy. And that brings us to Section 6, More Than a Machine. The legacy continues. But here's where reality gets incredibly dark and complex. Just a few months after bringing his country the ultimate joy, his hometown of Rosario sent a terrifying threat. On March 2, 2023, gunmen fired 14 shots into his wife's family supermarket. They left a piece of cardboard on the ground with a really chilling message: "Messi, we are waiting for you." It was just this stark, brutal reminder that even his incredible, unimaginable success couldn't shield him from the violent drug cartels controlling neighborhoods right in his own hometown. Yet, despite all of that, he just kept going. He moved to the United States, signing with Inter Miami. Now, some people thought it was just going to be a relaxed retirement tour in a lower league, but he went out and won the Leagues Cup and 2 MVP awards, becoming the first player to ever achieve that 2 seasons in a row. And then, on March 18th, 2026, he hit another impossible milestone. In a match against Nashville, he shifts onto his left foot, slips the ball right through a defender's legs, and scores his astonishing 900th career goal. 900 times, the boy from Rosario stood on a pitch and watched a ball cross a line into a net. So, as he steps into his record-tying 6th World Cup in the summer of 2026 at age 39, we kind of have to ask, is he just this relentless goal-scoring machine, built out of the dust of Rosario? Writers love to call him a machine. But let's be real, a machine runs on relentless logic. It's designed to never, ever stop. A machine doesn't cry on the grass after missing a penalty. A machine doesn't kiss a trophy as if it were a child, or carry the emotional weight of an entire country on its back for 15 years. What Lionel Messi has, well, it isn't a machine. It's a gift. Because ultimately, this explainer isn't really just about football stats, paper napkins, or hitting 900 goals. It's a reflection on what happens when the world looks at you and tells you it's too late, it's too unlikely, or it's just too expensive. Have you ever had a door slammed in your face? Have you ever had a verdict read to you that seemed to just end your dream before it even had a chance to begin? Here's the takeaway I want to leave you with today. Whatever that small gift is inside you, it's older than any closed door. It is older than any medical clinic verdict, any hometown threat, or any financial collapse. You absolutely weren't given that gift by accident. If the story of Lionel Messi proves anything, it's that all you really have to do is one thing: keep going, one step at a time, right up until the very last whistle. Thank you so much for joining me. What doors are you going to push through today? Let's keep learning.